we went from poly to like, okay, let's play in like an open relationship for a while. And then we tried monogamy. We thought, let's do something really radical and try monogamy. It's kind of a backwards. No.
Brilliant. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Queer Relationships, Queer Joy. We are your hosts, Keely C. Helmick
and Melissa DeSegurant.
And we have two guests today that we get to interview. So we'll get started. The way we do interviews is we've been not doing a lot of introduction, like catch up, fill in info, but more get right to the interview. So I will formally introduce myself for new listeners, and Paul and Michelle, you're welcome to just kind of follow the lead of how we introduce, or however you want to introduce yourself. So my name is Keely C. Helmick. I'm the owner of Connective Therapy Collective. I am a white, non-binary, queer, femme, non-monogamous, still just that pesky injury that I'm just kind of dealing with in life. And yeah, that's me right now. Melissa?
I'm Melissa DeSegurant. I'm licensed as a marriage family therapist and a professional counselor working at Connective Therapy Collective. I'm white, I'm able-bodied, I'm bisexual, polyamorous, and I use she and they pronouns. So welcome.
I was going to jump in. I'm Michelle Renee. I am a white, queer identifying, non-monogamous intimacy professional based in San Diego. And also, I just feel fluid in all things. I even feel weird saying queer. Like, I'm just fluid. I have a better way to identify.
Hey, I'm Paul. I am a white cis dude who is bi, and I don't remember what the rest of the rest of them were, but relevant to this conversation, I'm Michelle's partner. We're getting married in a couple of months, although we've already had a wedding. No, we're doing the wedding in a couple of months. We've already been courthouse married. So yeah, we've been together for about 7 years now and moving into a new phase. Pretty excited about it. Outside of that, I'm a programmer. So that may show up because, programmers are kind of weirdly, I don't know, they tend to self-select for neuroatypicality and that sort of thing for whatever reason. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so quite the combo. You have the programmer and the cuddle specialist / do you want to give listeners and viewers your full title of what you do, Michelle?
I started in professional cuddling and then moved into surrogate partner therapy. So for those that don't know what surrogate partner, I think professional cuddler is kind of self-explanatory, but surrogate partner therapy means that I work with clients and their therapist in like a collaboration. Usually the client is single or not partnered, and they have some kind of blockage to being in intimate relationships. And I come in and we create a relationship so that the therapist can help them work through whatever comes up with their relationship with me. So I work the full range of intimacy from platonic to erotic is how I like to say between those two titles. And then there's a lot of interesting middle gray area that I am a yes to work in under certain circumstances. Maybe it means that there's not a therapist involved and I'm doing more companion work with an educational clinical twist to it, or we're doing some more coaching in the platonic cuddle space. There can be lots of different configurations of that work.
Oh, it's so fascinating. So I want to hear more, Melissa, and I want to hear more about how this interacts in your relationship, but can we get a little bit of the background of your relationship first and how the two of you met? Have you always been non-monogamous? Like, start from there.
I feel like it's really funny to talk about how we've gone through different relationship structures since we've first started dating. First of all, I'll call out that there's a 12-year age gap between us. Mm-hmm. So I'm 47 and Paul is 34.
Yeah.
And we met in the kink community. How would you describe it? I have my version.
Yeah. So Michelle was in the space a bit before I was. I joined and started going to munches and that sort of thing, and just started meeting people in the community. And at one point someone said, "Hey, what are you doing on Saturday? You should go with Michelle to this poly party." And I said, that sounds great. And so we went and was it a date? Was it not? What was expectations? We didn't really know. So we just kind of went there and had some really good connection there and kind of went from there, started dating more like intentionally, deliberately, actively. And that's kind of how we met. We like a few months after that, I realized I was going to have to move like probably across the country. And so we started talking about that. And at that point, we had only been together for a couple of months. And we said, all right, well, let's not work off of like maybes and what ifs. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. So let's just continue doing this. Let's keep like working on this relationship. And it was a big game changer for Michelle. Talk about how it sort of lets you really put on the pedal for it, because at the time.
Yeah, I think I have a friend who wrote a book about intensives. I don't know if I've ever talked to you about it, Keely, but the idea was that we can be intensive people, which makes a lot of, you can probably fill in the blanks of what that means, right? We're the people that go like hardcore really fast into things. And then the book was about
that sounds very familiar.
what is called You're Not Too Much. So that kind of I
Wow.
had it was too much for a lot of my life, right? And that I needed to kind of modify or make myself smaller in relationships. And I was pretty fresh out of an 18-year marriage that wasn't really healthy and very controlling ex-husband. And so I didn't know how to just show up authentically in a lot of spaces. I would modify myself. And so in dating Paul, I would do that too. Like I didn't want to come off too strong. And I would play that well, I'll wait for him to contact me. And there was still a lot of like, I don't want to say game playing because I really just thought I had to do this because I was too much for people. And so with him, kind of letting both of us know, hey, this probably is temporary. Like I don't know that either one of us were like right from the beginning going, oh, we're gonna do a long distance relationship. To be really blunt, I just thought it was gonna fuck until he left, right? Like it was an age gap thing. Like I wasn't in this because I thought I was building this serious long-term relationship. He was
Yeah.
fun and he was cute and we had a lot of fun marking off, like checking off new experiences together or a lot of his new experiences I got to take a lot of credit for, which I love, which is probably why I do the work that I do. So like with this, like knowing that he was leaving, I had nothing to lose. So I was like, I'm just gonna go all in and just show up the way I want to show up. Because what's the worst case scenario? He's gonna leave me? Like, yeah, he's gonna leave me. There was
Yeah.
nothing to lose. That kind of gave me permission to just love full heartedly.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would have done that in a different situation.
So in a lot of ways, it was really a blessing, you know?
It's huge. And the freedom that allowed both of you. I think you said too, Paul, at the beginning, like there weren't expectations. And that I've talked about that when I'm in a relationship, when there's not immediate expectations about what the trajectory is going to be, you can show up so much more authentically and then actually meet people in a real way.
Yeah. It worked out fantastically. Before that, I hadn't had a lot of long-term relationships. I didn't have a lot of relationship modeling. And so I had a lot to learn. I was always interested in learning, and Michelle has been very helpful with a lot of that growth. Fast forward, I moved out to California. We started a long distance relationship. Michelle moved out to California. We started living together and figured out that phase. I lost my job in San Diego, moved to Baltimore. We started to figure that out. COVID hit. We had to figure everything out again. And then Michelle was able to continue her work in San Diego. So she started like commuting out here every month. And that was about like 2 years ago at this point almost. So then we're kind of back in a long-term or long distance relationship. And halfway through next year, we're going to be moving back to San Diego permanently. And so it's been a lot of, sort of figuring out what this particular phase looks like and how things work and how things could be better. And it's been something that we've been constantly sort of working through and kind of designing the relationship in a way that works best for us. It's something we've been actively working on the whole time.
I
And
think
it's been great.
I think we edit really well. Like when we talk about relationship structures, we started as poly. Like, I was in another relationship when I met Paul, and then when the marriage ended, I thought I was poly. I came out of the gate going, "I am poly because I've fallen in love with all these different people while I was married." But in reality, with some distance, I was just really looking for someone to rescue me out of that relationship because I didn't have the wherewithal to get myself out. And my friends were going, "Why do you have to be poly, Michelle? Why can't you just date and figure out like how things go?" But that was what I knew, was this feeling that all these people came into my life and I connected myself to them really easily. And then to practice it, I found that for me, I'm kind of a monogamous attacher. Like, and I learned reading like Polysecure. I had this aha moment of like, oh, people actually make decisions whether they're going to be in an attachment based relationship. Attachment is like a really like important part of what it means, like what the relationship means to me. And so like we went from poly to like, okay, let's play in like an open relationship for a while. And then we tried monogamy. We thought, let's do something really radical and try monogamy. It's kind of like no.
Brilliant.
So we took a year, like every year on our anniversary, we would make a decision of how we wanted to move forward for the next year. And so we
Uh-huh.
did a year of monogamy, and we were like, okay, how did that feel? And Paul was like, I think it's going well. And I was like, I don't feel like this is my authentic self. And there's a part of me that's in a box. And so where we've landed currently, and who knows how that edit looks every year, but like right now, we're like 95% monogamous for the most part. If people saw us on the street, like I often say, like my friends would look at us and say, like my poly friends would look at us and say we're monogamous.
Yeah.
My monogamous friends would look at us and say we're poly, and we just live in the gray space. Like I have really wonderful connections with people that aren't limited in how we can connect. But what I love is that I know they're actually really friendships, because
Yeah.
even if we're in the monogamous phase of our relationship, those friendships don't change.
Uh-huh.
Like it's just different boundaries, and like that is really important to me. Like that feels like I need that I'm not just there to fulfill some kind of sexual need for a person. Like
Yeah.
kind of how I felt in my marriage was that was my value. Know that my value is elsewhere.
I really like, Michelle, how you were saying like the two of you talking about this fluidity and how the two of you moved in and out of non-monogamy, polyamory, monogamy. And how were the conversations like, or what kind of things did the two of you work on that you were able to navigate these differences of relationship structures throughout your relationship?
Well, we know pretty well because we had one of these conversations like literally earlier this week.
Yeah.
Whenever we go on trips, we find ourselves in the car for like, a couple hours at a time. Inevitably, we start talking about it and that sort of thing, and we kind of love it for that. So a lot of it looks like, well, let's talk about this thing or that thing. How would it look to go to kinky space? How does, to go to a party there? What things are you worried about? What things am I worried about? What's like sort of your fear here? Let's check in with like your body and your feelings and see what's coming up about it. We found that like almost like role playing out a situation is very helpful that way too. Like if someone comes to me and says, well, this is what I want to do, here's what I would say, here's how I feel about it. Well, what about this? Well, this is how I would respond to that sort of thing. So we get a lot of sort of practical example of it, even if we're not actually in those spaces or, pushing those edges, we're exploring how they feel. The pandemic has changed a lot of how all that stuff works. Just and moving to a new city just before the pandemic meant that we didn't have like that sort of connection to that community. So it was in a weird place for a while, but talking about some of those different things and some of the concerns and some of the worries, and that's how a lot of it looks, it feels like.
We're really aware of my attachment wounds. Like, but I think the beauty of Paul in some ways is that he came with a lot less baggage.
Uh-huh.
And he'll say that that also was a detriment because it came with a lot less experience. And so he kind of was navigating from a
Like a
just
blank slate
yeah.
of both good and bad. You know, there was a lot of things that I had to learn that just like, oh, this is how relationships are. I've never had one of these before. You know, that's been long term and emotionally connected and that sort of thing. But I also didn't have, you know, things as many things to work through that had sort of built up as wounds, like you were talking about.
Yeah. So I
So,
think we're always mindful.
Mhm.
We're always mindful of that kind of like, I'm in my own like, okay, what things in my past am I really adamant on working through and getting to the other side of? And which parts of me am I like right now? I just had this, we had a lot of this conversation. Maybe those things never changed. Maybe those are not going to go away. And where is the happy medium where we're all getting some of our needs met, but also taking care of like the stuff that I just, God, I wish I could take those things back and not have had those things happen.
Are you talking about like your trauma wounds or when you're saying like things you would take away? Is that what you're speaking about? Okay.
I remember a time in my life when, you know, it was fun to watch my partner at the time have sex with someone else.
Uh-huh.
And then it got ruined, right? There was an event that ruined it. And I'm having even, you know, 7 years in of being in a really safe relationship and having a lot of like secure attachment. I can't get rid of that script
Uh,
of the negative thing. And some of it I've been told is related to I have aphantasia. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's like a inability to fantasize.
It's you have no inner mind's eye. Like if for example, I say red truck, what's in your head right now?
a red truck.
For Michelle, yeah, but is it like, what do you see?
Oh
Is
yeah.
it
Like you describe it.
Detailed mental image of a red truck going down the road, or is it just clear? Yeah,
right? For Michelle, it's the word red and the word truck.
totally.
So fantasy and imagination and prediction are different for her. So there's this feeling of, I just, you know, I'm really worried about this. It's like, well, what's the worst that can happen? It's like, I don't know. I can't conceive of it. I can't think about it. So we have to either talk and sort of role play it out or, you know, discuss a scenario or something like that to explore it. But otherwise, it just sort of sits in an abstract and negative place.
Well, it's been explained to me through one relationship coach that like where she asked me to like rewrite the story to a positive outcome. She
Yeah.
said the problem with aphantasia, it's kind of like doing a strike through. The story's still there. You can rewrite it, but it's not going away. And like that, like it's just helped me kind of go, okay, maybe these are not things that I'll just get completely past. It's just a matter of how can we work through, like it might be that I think about play parties. And I think maybe we just won't go together because it's my biggest walking in on him doing something that I'm uncomfortable seeing. I don't want him to not have access to that space. And I might want to have access to that space. And we just can't go at the same time and we take turns. But it's like finding the things that work for both of us so that we both don't feel like we've shoved a part of us away.
I really appreciate the way you've both talked about the intentionality of how you have these kinds of check-ins, because that's something we've been trying to get certainly clients and listeners to really do. And I think you're demonstrating super well how to collaborate with one another around trauma and past triggers. And I think part of what I really appreciate about what you're saying right now, Michelle, is that idea that like it's not that I have to get past every single thing. And I see so many people get trapped in that and shame themselves because they have a past and they've had traumatic experiences happen. But I hear you coming from more of an integrative, like, okay, if I accept some of these parts of me are wounds and they're just true, how do we work with that? And it sounds like the two of you come together really well in figuring that out. There's a part of me that wants to know, like, so what's conflict like? Like, are there hard things that you've had to overcome together?
There's times, right? But here's the thing, as much as Paul says that he learned a lot from me, like he created a really mellow space for me that I didn't have growing up and I didn't have in my previous relationship. So there was a transition period, of course, of me going, he clearly doesn't like me because it's not high conflict, right?
Oh, yeah.
That like nervous system, understanding that this is just what calm feels like, and it doesn't mean that he's not caring for me. And
Yeah.
he had to learn how to show up and be in touch with his empathy and like understand the role that he was playing. Like I remember having a therapist that said, you take a lot of this responsibility on yourself, and some of it is your partner's responsibility and how they interact with you. It's not that I have to be the perfect person that comes in, and I'm the relationship coachy person, right? So like I don't think I could do the work that I do and the way that I do it if I hadn't gone through like learning how to be in a safe relationship with Paul. Like
Yeah.
that's just I don't I look back and I think, oh, I wanted to do the work I'm doing back before I met Paul. And it makes me laugh to think about doing that work without it having like finally having a model, even though it's my model.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I had to work through that stuff myself. So as much as Paul has gained, I have also gained just from having the levelness that he brings, even if it was from a place of like, I don't know what's happening here. I'm a deer in headlights. I don't know what
Yeah.
this looks
Not,
like.
not a lot of a relationship experience and not a lot of emotional experience either. Like men in general, those with dude society training, as it were, people who are socialized as men, um, there's not a lot of emotion that's taught in that space. You're allowed to be like angry, maybe if you're white, and that's about it. Like empathy and emotional like connection are just not things that are taught to us. So I had a lot to learn there. I'm probably somewhere on the spectrum too, so that probably plays it into it a bit as well. But I didn't have a lot of emotional modeling in my household, so whereas I was growing from a very logical place to a very emotional, like growing emotionally, Michelle was learning to like understand how secure attachment works and how that like helps
Or-
and how it enables your work in that.
Well, I could have feelings and not be explosive because he was not used to having the big expression that I look at now and I'm like, oh, that was a trigger. Like that was like bringing back old stuff in a plate from a place that I couldn't regulate as easily, and now I'm better at regulating. And like it's just been like me helping him feel safe in a different way than he had to help me feel safe.
Well, and you're really demonstrating, I mean, we talk about this a lot, but you are demonstrating how healing happens in relationships. And so, yes, we can talk about work, but at the end of the day, there needs to be relationships to heal and move through these things.
Yeah, which is what my work is too.
So it's so glad you brought that up, Keely, because I think that's the brilliant part, Michelle, of how you described your job. I'm curious about how does your work inform and impact the relationship, and what do the two of you need to work through together to support, you in the work that you do?
Yeah. So when I first met Paul, I was still in this, what is Michelle going to do? Like 2.0, because I was a stay-at-home mom. I had an accounting background. I didn't want to go work in an office. And I came across Betty Dotson's work right after, like right as my marriage was ending. So I was doing my own sexuality healing and wanted to do hands-on sex education of some sort based on my experience with Betty. And Paul met me before I figured out what that was going to be. He knew that's where I was going. And I think we were probably dating less than a month when I went and did cuddle, like professional cuddle training. And like he was suddenly dating a professional cuddler. And then, eventually, getting into the surrogate partner work. I had a lot of capacity. I didn't even know I was an introvert at that time. I didn't know myself very well. I was, I'm like realizing like, oh, this is why I was a bitch all the time, is because I never had my own space. I was this full-time mom that didn't even get to pee by myself, right? Like, and then I realized, oh, I'm an introvert after 40. And then I get into all this incredibly high emotional labor work. Like I'm thrilled that professional cuddling came on the scene, and it gave me and people like me a place to get paid for our emotional labor and to like learn that we have an actual monetary value to that. But it does leave me needing the more successful I am, it leaves me needing more time alone to recharge.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Melissa can
Or
understand that.
Combined language.
what do they call it? Like side by side play, or what is it? What do they,
Um,
that term where you're kind of both in the same room but doing your own
Parallel.
thing?
Yeah.
Parallel play, yeah. So we're really good at having our own separate lives in a lot of ways. We're really independent people.
That's the way I'd describe it. We actually don't have a lot of hobbies that are overlap in terms of interest. Not to as well as Michelle is much more of an early riser and I stay up late. So we actually have a lot of space like sort of naturally built into our relationship to kind of self-regulate in addition to the time that we spend together. So it gives us a lot of space that way, which is helpful to your work as you take on a lot of emotional labor for that, getting the chance to regulate with me and then the chance to regulate with yourself, you know, seems to be really helpful that way.
Yeah. And in my work, I've realized I really need space for a no to show up in physical, like sexual intimacy.
Mhm.
And in like learning these things about myself, because I get so much opportunity in my work to figure out what are my brakes and what are my accelerators, that I'd say over time our sex life has changed a bit. Like it's very much, I think, still great, but it's definitely more curated as far as like I have to have a lot of space to not want to go there. And Paul, this is the problem in my previous marriage, was that sex was very coercive in that relationship. And so I can't feel at all any kind of pressure, or I get just completely shut off. And Paul is like really good at like showing up in whatever way it feels good to both of us and never about one of us. Right. So like wherever the lowest common denominator is, and maybe it's Michelle just needs to cuddle and cry for a little while, like that's gonna be our form of intimacy. And Paul makes that really okay for me. And so I don't feel pressure to show up in a certain way, even though I may have I feel like I know how to show up that way for my clients based on like the container that's built. And
Yeah.
he gives me space to take, like, I can let him hold space for me where I won't let a client hold space for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's more people that I will let hold space.
It's beautiful too, because it's a collaboration. I don't hear you saying that between you and Paul, it's my needs versus your needs or my wants versus your wants. It's us together. What's going to be best for us in this present moment?
Yeah. I mean, who wants to show up in the sexual space with someone who doesn't really want to be
Right.
there? Like,
Yeah, our we have like a standing date night that we make sure to make time for each other around, and it's about connection. What do we want? How do we want to connect? You know, do we just cuddle? Is there a massage? Like, do we just sit there and watch TV and talk about our day and that sort of thing? Like,
yeah.
it's about being intentional with like setting aside time for each other, for the relationship, and checking in and talking about where we are and what's been going on recently, and you know
I think Paul trusts that I show up for our relationship as my best self. Like he's not getting the leftovers. Like he trusts that. But I do put a he also like really understands how much I put into my work, and he values that. Like he wants me doing the work that I'm doing. Like he's not resentful about the amount of effort that I put into my clients.
it's I'm a huge fan of her work. Like it I kind of tell people that she's kind of saving the world one person at a time.
Oh,
She's helping people like get to a place where they wouldn't be able to otherwise. And like all the stories that she tells me about her clients and some of their situations and everything is just so like the the growth that they have with her is just magic and incredible. And I love that work. Like it's amazing that this is a thing that can come from this place and go to that place. And like seeing that sort of growth and hearing the success stories around it is incredible work. I'm a huge fan.
awesome.
If I can help like provide an HQ, a home base, stable emotional place to like do that amazing work from. That's incredible to me. Like I love being able to help in that regard, you know.
As you said that, I'm thinking about you talked to Michelle about Polysecure earlier, and it sounds like, Paul, you are really a safe haven and secure base for Michelle in that way. And I think that's amazing. Sounds like you're that way for one another.
Absolutely. You know, we've had complications and problems throughout our relationship, but it was always something that we were interested in repairing, something that we were, you know, we never shied away from difficult conversations. And we were always looking towards personal growth. And we were always interested in repair. And I think that's been the most essential part of our relationship. You know, if you can figure out how to fight cleanly and repair earnestly, that's going to solve, you're going to be able to work through anything that comes up. And that it's been amazing that way.
Yeah, the difficult conversation started out as this might break us up,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You know, and then eventually I get to a point where you're like, this isn't going to break us up.
Mhm.
It's just going to make things better. And like, I think about like in my work with clients, like the first conflict that you have is such a great opportunity to learn if you're in it,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
friendship or any of that. If you don't have conflict, you don't know that they're going to be around on the other side of it.
Right. Right. And then
Well,
that fear of conflict can create so many problems.
yeah, if you're avoiding conflict so you can feel safe, quote unquote, you're not actually it's not actually helping you get there.
Oh, so many wonderful nuggets from this conversation. I feel like when I'm listening right now, it's like, oh, these are things that have been said, but you're actually like saying how it works in your relationship, in your dynamic of a healthy relationship. Even mentioning having date nights, but having like these nights that are for connection and not just focused or not always about sex, but like really the focus is connection and how supportive you are, Paul, and how both of you are able to interact and have these moments of tension and move through it and just ebb and flow throughout 7 years of a relationship changing and growing.
I think Esther Perel says pick the person that you can edit your story with. You're not going to stay the same. I don't want to stay the same. Like I think like what's life look like? It looks like how can I grow today? How can I, what's the
Yeah.
next 5 years look like? It's not about staying still. So if you're looking for someone who's going to create that kind of stability, that's not the kind of stability that I want. I just want someone who is like solid in who they are and solid in like how they show up.
Lovely.
Hey, it's Cardinal, your behind the scenes buddy. What? It's an ad at the end of the episode. Isn't it supposed to be in the beginning, marketing man? That's right, because people do tend to stop listening after a few minutes. But that's not you. You listened until almost the end of the episode. Thank you. You're literally the best, and I love you. And I have a question for you, faithful listener. What would you want to see for our 69th episode? We want to do something kind of special. Should it be a compilation of your queer joy stories? A deep dive into simultaneous oral stimulation? A special guest you've got a crush on? Let me know on Instagram or Facebook at Queer Relationships Queer Joy. Our DMs are always open. All right, back to the show.
Well, I don't know if y'all gotten a chance, but we always like to end our interviews and all of our episodes with queer joy. And so, not to put you on the spot too much, I don't know if I didn't warn you if you've listened to the podcast or not, but we go around and talk about our queer joy of the week, or you can just talk about anything that is a queer joy for you. And Melissa and I banter back and forth about whether who wants to start. And I actually this week I didn't plan yet, but
I have one. I can start.
Melissa can start.
I just had a really wonderful weekend or end of the week last week. I ended up going up to Orcas Island off the coast of Washington where one of my best friends is living right now with his mom. And that's where I went for like a Thanksgiving. We didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, but we had food and a great time. But I didn't know totally what to expect because I was sort of bombarding someone else's family for a holiday. But it turned out his mom had plans with her friends. And so it was just he and I, his partner, and then one of his partner's like newer friends. On that actual day, we just had like a chicken, but it wasn't even the traditional dinner. We had like somebody made a homemade chicken pot pie, and it was the four of us, and we're all queer people. And we sat around playing Cards Against Humanity for like 4 hours with the Pride expansion pack, which is phenomenal if no one has checked that out yet. We were having so much fun that we didn't realize how long we were playing. And by the end, like it was rough. Like we were all exhausted, but like had to just kind of keep going. We went through almost the entire deck. But in hindsight, we all looked and was like, this was the queerest, most wonderful, subdued day and evening. And I having been alone on major holidays, literally just me and cats for the past 2 years, this was so joyful and so wonderful. And also being out in a remote area and out of the hubbub of Portland where I live was really magical and so restorative. So I am still good. That's my queer joy for like the month.
Hey. Do either of you have something you want to say, or should I go next?
You can go next.
Well, I feel like I had a couple queer joys, but I feel like the one that it's a joy, and I'm also like kind of proud of myself because I'm normally a lot of the times I talk about like going out with people, going out dancing, being in these big groups. And I had a moment on Saturday. I had this plan to go out. There's a queer dance night, and I'm still healing from my back. I was like, oh, but I'll just go and hang out. And then by the time Saturday rolled around, I was kind of like, I'd gone out the night before, and I actually wanted to go on this date still, but I really didn't want to go out. And normally I would just like push through it. And I actually texted the person. It was like, and then called them because I was like, oh, we need to talk on the phone. And I was like, I really want to still go on a date, but I don't. Are you really tied to going to this dance thing? And she was like, "No." She's like, "We can totally just hang out." And so I like took care of myself, and that's not something I normally do. And I'm such an extrovert. And so it felt really good to still get to connect with her and have her come over and have a chill night. So that was my queer joy. That was my subdued queer joy.
Congratulations on changing your mind.
Thank you.
Proud of yourself. Just it feels like cuddle party all over the place. I don't know if you guys have done cuddle parties, but they're very much about these rules of like cuddle party or rules of life, and some of them are changing your mind and taking care of yourself. Yeah.
Gosh,
I
yes.
think I don't know if this is queer joy or not, but we just got back from Death Valley weekend with our housemates. All I'd say all very queer people.
Yeah.
So I guess it counts as queer joy. We went to Copa Hot Springs, which is outside of Death Valley, and like soaked in the like natural hot springs all weekend, and like just had a chill, like wonderful weekend with friends, and just off the grid, up
Mhm.
before sunrise, watching the sunrise from the water, and just I don't know, just loveliness that is like kind of undescribable because the beauty of the nature out there is. I grew up in Michigan, like we didn't have deserts, and like I still find myself in complete awe of this like space that we live in out here in California and different climates, and great weekend.
Yeah. My queer joy is about that as well. Like that sort of space is very relaxed and very chill. And we were there with some of our housemates, and the way that that sort of shows up is, of course, we're going to go to the hot springs and we're all going to be naked. And occasionally we would bump into other people, because usually we were going quite early, so we didn't always run into everyone. But occasionally we would run into people, and they'd be wearing their bathing suits, or just like nervously like trying to shuffle in so that no one sees them or whatever. Oh, right. We live in a very like, deliberate bubble, or not deliberate, but we live in a bubble, and not everyone is sort of in this same world that we're in. And
Yeah.
we do. like at one point Michelle and I were about to have sex, and we hear like a knock on the door or whatever. And I kind of peek my head out, and they're like, oh, hey, I was just one of our roommates, and they're like, hey, I was just coming over to hang out. I'm like, "Yeah, cool, you can come in, but we're boning." They're like, yeah, that's fine. So you just like go over together in the trailer, and it's like, you can't do, like, I absolutely love like the space that we've created, and it's unlike anything else, and that brings me a lot of joy.
That's amazing.
Yay. Well, I want to make sure, Michelle, maybe we can have you come back with you and Brian, or you and somebody else, to get more in depth about the surrogacy work and the cuddling work.
When you asked me, I was like, which kind of partner? Life partner, work partner?
We really do need to be specific.
No, this was
Like, I feel like I live in queer platonic world. Like everybody's like a queer platonic partner of some sort, and it's all like different niches and categories.
yeah, for sure. So how do people reach you, Michelle, if they want to contact you and learn more?
I'm at meetmichellerenee.com, or on social media at Meet Michelle Renee. Will give you a kind of an umbrella of all the different kinds of work and like who I am. I live really open, so my social media is kind of a hint into my personal world and my professional world, because they kind of overlap a lot. Yeah, you get who you get. I show up I've been told I'm very authentic in that when you meet me in person, it's very much like my social media presence. So yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Paul and Michelle, so much. Thanks for a wonderful conversation. And thanks as always, Melissa. And thanks for listening, everyone. And hope you have a queer and joyful week.
Thanks for listening to Queer Relationships, Queer Joy, a podcast by the Connective Therapy Collective. Hosted by Keely C. Homick and Melissa DeSegrant, with audio edited by Leigh Supapo Bernito, and I'm your producer, Cardinal Marking. Intro music is by Bad Snacks. This week's guests were Michelle Renee and Paul. Find Michelle online at meetmichellerenee.com or on social media as Meet Michelle Renee. If the episode made you smile or think, tell us about it. If you hated it, tell us about that. Review us on iTunes or Spotify, or send us an email at media@connectivetherapycollective.com. For more queer joy, visit our website at www.connectivetherapycollective.com. Love ya. Bye.